Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Quartet Lesson 12, Part 3 live stream. We've only got 2 more of these things left to go. Tonight, we're going to be covering uede, so ni naru, and nakare. We're only going to be covering nakare a little bit because it's actually not modern Japanese, but Quartet covered it anyway. These are the colors we use for these lessons. We have light blue for the new grammar points, and the other colors are for words that haven't shown up yet in Genki or in Quartet, but which are on the JLPT, or that we feel are common enough that you should probably take the time to learn. First thing we're going to be covering tonight is when doing with uede, but this is a live stream, and as you know, all of the live streams are sponsored by the members of TokeniAndy.com. Thank you so much for all of your support, guys, and the Patreon, and all of the members here on the YouTube as well. Thank you guys so much for your support. It's because of you that we can keep making these lessons every week. We really appreciate that. So our first section tonight is when doing something with uede. To use uede, you take the dictionary form of a verb and just add uede, or noun plus no uede. By the way, if it's a noun, it's a suru verb, a suru noun. So it's definitely not just a random, it's not going to be a noun that you can't use suru with. So it's only suru nouns can be used with uede. You can also use the past tense of uede, but it's a slightly different meaning. So let's go ahead and talk about that quickly. So x uede y, when it's used with the dictionary form, it means that when you're doing X, or in the process of doing X, Y occurs, or Y might be some kind of advice or warning or caution. That's actually quite common, giving some kind of advice in relation to whatever X is, whatever comes before uede. So when you want to tell a person about, to be cautious about something, maybe you could use this, like when doing this, be careful about this part, buddy. When you use the past tense, short past tense verbs before, in X, like before uede, it means first I'll do X and then I'll do Y. And it's not just a simple sequence of events. What it actually is Y, what comes after uede, is dependent upon whether or not this happens or whether I do it, is dependent upon finishing X or doing X. If I'll do X, and depending on that, if I finish it or depending on doing that, Y occurs, or I do Y. So it's not just a simple sequence of events. There's some dependency built in there when we're using the past tense. And yeah, just keep in mind that even with these, the noun no uede, just looking at it, you can't tell that it's the past tense, but generally from around it in the sentence, you can tell from the context whether we're talking about the past or not. The noun will obviously be some kind of suru noun. It has to be something, an action that you took, mostly speaking, not just something that happened. It has to be an action of some sort.
なんかね、ちょっと特殊だよね、シチュエーションがこの上でを使うときって。
So it's something I should have added actually to this explanation.
なんかあんまりアクション、そのリアルアクションはないよね。
For the past tense one, no, not so much. Mostly
フィジカリーのそういうなんか運動したとか、そう、
yeah, okay.
そういうのはないよね。なんか
not after walking to the store if something happened. It's
そういうのじゃなくて、
more mental.
そう。
Seems like after
気
doing
持ち的になんか、そういう
some kind of mental action after completing or doing some mental action, or some kind of interaction with people that is more of a thought process or talking type of thing. I made a decision. Seems to be the most common way this is used. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our first example sentence. We have 健康な体を作る上で食べるものは重要です。So this is kind of some advice, or yeah, it's just some advice. It's adding some information to this. So when you're building a healthy body, the things you eat are very important. By the way, I don't think I said first X, then Y, and when doing. Yeah, that's what they mean. So anyway, so when you're building. So the when and the ing are what you could think of the uede as being translated as here. So when you're building a healthy body, the things you eat are very important. 健康な体, so a healthy body. を, that's the direct object. 作る上で, so when building a healthy body. 食べるもの, so the things you eat. は,ものは, so that's emphasizing what comes next. 重要です is very important. Next one is 料理する上で火や刃物に注意すべきです。When cooking, you should be careful of fire and knives. So 料理する上で when cooking. 火や so things like fire and 刃物 so knives or cutlery に so in that direction 注意すべきです you should be careful about them. And here it's giving advice or caution about when doing cooking. When using uede with short form non-past tense, it's very common for it to be something like this, some kind of cautioning. 子供の反抗期は成長の上で必要な期間です。So as for children's rebellious stage, when growing, it is a necessary period. So 子供の反抗期. So 反抗期 is the rebellious years. When kids are like teenagers and they don't want to listen to their parents or they hate their parents. Those are called 反抗期. So 子供の反抗期は it can also be for little kids. Little kids can also have a rebellious stage. 反抗期は So as for that, 成長の上で So when growing. So here is a noun, right? But it's a する noun. 成長する, right? You grow up and you do that. So 成長の上で So when growing up, 必要な期間です It's a necessary period. So here we're giving advice or we're an opinion about this thing. Like you might be bummed out that your kid's going through a rebellious stage, but you know what? It's necessary. So this is advice. 説明書に So in a explanation book, or what do you call those? Instruction booklet. ご利用される上で以下の点にご注意ください. So when utilizing this product, please be careful of the points below. This is something you'll see a lot. So ご利用される上で So when using this product, a very polite way of saying it, or utilizing this product, 以下の点 So the points below に in that direction ご注意ください. Please be careful. Alright, 家族と相談の上で新しい車を買うことにした. So after consulting with my family first, I decided to buy a new car. So here, we don't have the past tense or anything. We just have a noun, but we can tell that this is the past tense version just because of the context of the sentence. So 家族と相談の上で. So at this point, it could be when consulting with your family. It could be. But let's look at the second part. 新しい車を買うことにした. This is a decision that was made. They did something based on what came in the first part. So this is not the when doing this, 上で. This is the upon discussing this with my family, I decided to buy a new car. So that deciding to buy a new car was dependent on having the discussion with my family. That's what this 上で is for. So 家族と So with my family, 相談の上で consulting with my family. Why can I never remember the English for 相談? 新しい車を So a new car を That's a direct object 買うことにした. I decided to buy a new car. Alright, we're getting into the past tense now. So 留学に行くことはよく考えた上で決めました. So as for going on a study abroad trip, after thinking hard about it first, I decided to go. So this is another one of them. Dependent on this, I did this. So dependent on thinking about it really hard, I decided to go on a trip. 留学に行くことは So as for the thing which is me going on a study abroad, よく考えた上で Upon thinking over it a lot or after thinking hard first, 決めました. I decided to go. 先生に許可を得た上で文化祭の準備をしています. So after getting permission from the teacher first, that's the important part, first, I'm preparing for the culture festival. So 先生に in the direction of the teacher, 許可を得た上で So I got permission from the teacher. So upon that happening, or after that happening first, 文化祭の準備. So the preparation for the 文化祭. 文化祭 is the culture festival. It's something like a summer festival. It's sort of like a thing at high schools and I guess middle schools in Japan, mostly high schools, where all the classes will do some kind of big project. Like they'll turn their classroom into a little shop or like a tea ceremony or a haunted house or something. And then all the students go to every other class and see what their project was. And sometimes parents come to see or people from the community come to check out the 文化祭. So 文化祭 is the culture festival no junbi. So the preparation for that, をしています. I'm doing it after consulting with the teacher. All right, that brings us to the dialogue. Let's go ahead and get Yuki over here. Yuki is going to be A, and I am going to be B. So Yuki will read it slowly one time, and then at full speed, and then we'll go over it line by line and break it down together. So, お願いします。
おい、B さん、今日飲み会するんだけど、行く？
行きたいっすね。でも、妻と相談した上で、決めようかな。
なんで？自分で決められないの？なんだそれ。
まあ、夫婦だからね。
夫婦はそういうことしなきゃいけないの？やっぱり結婚しないことにしようかな。私。
はい、お願いします。
おい、B さん、今日飲み会するんだけど、行く？
行きたいっすね。でも、妻と相談した上で決めようかな。
なんで？自分で決められないの？なんだそれ。
まあ、夫婦だからね。
夫婦はそういうことしなきゃいけないの？やっぱり結婚しないことにしようかな、私。
Alright, let's break it down line by line. お願いします。
おい、B さん、今日飲み会するんだけど、行く？
Hey, B, today we're doing a drinking party, but will you go? So for working people, this is very common after work. They all go out for a couple hours after work with the boss. It's very, very common here. So, hey, B, oi, B-san. 今日, today, 飲み会する, we're doing a drinking party. だけど, so it's explaining why she's talking to him right now. だけど, 行く? Will you go?
行きたいっすね。でも、妻と相談した上で決めようかな。
I want to go, but I'll go ahead and decide after first consulting with my wife or upon consulting with my wife. So, 行きたいっすね. So that small tsuin and this is a sort of a very casual des, very casual, sort of masculine, I feel like, but I don't know if that's true. I think it's kind of masculine, yeah. 行きたいっすね. So I want to go. でも, but 妻と相談した上で after first consulting with my wife, 相談した上で決めようかな. I think I'll decide after first consulting with my wife.
なんで？自分で決められないの？なんだそれ。
Why? You can't decide on your own? What the heck is that? なんで? Why? 自分で so on your own 決められないよ. No? You're not able to decide that? なんだ? What the heck? それ. なんだそれ? What the heck is that?
まあ、夫婦だからね。
Well, it's because we're a married couple, you know? まあ, well, 夫婦だから because married couple. That's all it actually is. Because married couple. There's not all those extra words. I just made it sound like a real English sentence. 夫婦だからね. Because couple. Married couple.
夫婦はそういうことしなきゃいけないの？私結婚しないこと、やっぱり結婚しないことにしようかな、私。
Married couples have to do things like that. As expected, I guess I'll go ahead and decide to not marry. So, 夫婦は, so as for married couples, そういうこと, things like that, しなきゃいけないの, have to do. やっぱり, as expected, 結婚しないこと, 結婚しない is not get married, ことにしようかな. I think I'll go ahead, or I guess I'll go ahead and decide not to get married. 私, me. That brings us to question time.
はい。あなたの人生のイベントで相談、考えた、検討、エトセトラの上で決めたことは何でしたか？
So what did you decide after consulting with someone, or thinking about it, or considering it, etc.? So you're going to use a noun here, 上で, or just a past tense. Yeah, 考えた is a past tense. But anyway, after doing one of those things, what did you decide? For example,
高校生の時、家族や先生と相談した上でアメリカにホームステイしました。
so when I was in high school, 高校生の時, 家族や先生と, so with people like my family and teachers, と相談した上で, after consulting with them, アメリカにホームステイしました. I did a homestay in America. So after doing this first, I did a homestay. Next one is,
お金のことを考えた上でヨーロッパ旅行に行きました。
ヨーロッパに
ヨーロッパに旅行に行きました。
It's a lot of knees. お金のこと, so afterお金のこと, so money things, を考えた上で, after thinking about money stuff, ヨーロッパに in the direction of Europe, 旅行に行きました. I went on a trip. So how about you? What did you decide after either thinking about it hard or consulting with someone or considering it for a while? Kento is considering something. What is something that you decided on? A past event in your life. So our next section is about to happen. Something happened with そうになる. So for this, we need the masum of a verb followed by そうになる. And it means nearly. Something nearly occurred. But what's important here is that it didn't. It didn't happen. It was about to occur, but it didn't. And that's it. So maybe, kid looks like he's going to get hit by a car. But he didn't. That's when you're going to be using this. Okay. So, 道でhere. This is that sentence. So, 道で子供が車にひかれそうになった. So the child was about to be hit by a car on the road. But the important point here is that he wasn't. We're talking about a situation where it's finished, but it didn't happen. It was, whoa, that was close type of thing. So 道で, so on the road, 子供が, a child, 車に, by a car, ひかれそうになった. ひかれる means to be hit by a car. It's an N3 word, and I don't usually mark N3 words much in these lessons because most of them have showed up or you guys have probably seen them before. But this one, I don't remember seeing anywhere in Quartet or Genki at any point, and I don't think we've used it in any of our lessons. It's despite being a fairly common word. So I made sure to mark it here. It's an N3 word. It means to be hit by, usually a car or something, or a bike or whatever. But anyway, hikare so ni natta. So was about to be hit by a car on the road, but he wasn't. Next is 外に干した洗濯物が風に飛ばされそうになっている. So this is ている. It's about to be. It's in the process of. The laundry I hung up to dry is about to be blown away in the wind. So 外に, outside. 干した. 干す is to hang up clothes or hang up anything actually. To dry. Hang it up to dry. 干した洗濯物. So the laundry that I hung up to dry. が hung up is 干す is an N2 word. が風に, so by wind. 飛ばされそうになっている. 飛ばされる means to be blown away. To be blown away. Passively, right? It's being done to the thing. So 飛ばされそうになっている. So it's about to be blown away by the wind, but it hasn't been yet. It just looks like it's gonna blow away. All right, the next one is 手が滑って新しいスマホを落としてしまいそうになった. So my hand slipped and I nearly dropped my smartphone. So this is very commonly used with しまう, 手しまう. Actually very common. So 落としてしまいそうになった. So it looked like I was unfortunately about to or completely drop my phone. So 手が滑って my hand slipped and 新しいスマホ my new smartphone を that's the direct object 落としてしまいそうになった. I nearly dropped my smartphone, but I didn't. Good thing. 体育の授業で10キロマラソンを走った時は吐きそうになりました. I've heard this one before. So as for when I ran in the PE class 10-kilometer marathon, I almost threw up. So this is another one that didn't show up in Genki, I don't think, but it's an N3 word. It means to throw up. 吐く. So 体育の授業で, so in 体育 class, 体育 is PE class, 10キロマラソン, so the 10-mile race. By the way, something that threw me off a little bit when I first learned this word years ago, marathon, is that in English, a marathon is a 42-kilometer race, right? That's a marathon. In Japanese, a marathon is any type of race. Generally at school or something, when they do their race every year, it doesn't matter how long it is. It's called a marathon. Super interesting story. I was talking, we were out to dinner with some of Yuki's old an old classmate in one of her English classes. And he was an older guy. He was like in his 50s, 60s. He's the head of a company now or something. Pretty cool guy. And he was telling us how his little school in the countryside, every year, I think the 15-year-olds or something, maybe the 16-year-olds, one of the grades in high school, for their marathon, they had to run 75 kilometers. 75 kilometers. And they did it overnight. So they'd start at night at like 7 o'clock and they'd run all night until the morning. They did 75K. High schoolers who they never necessarily really did long runs, but they ran all night until the next morning, 75 kilometers. My goodness. Guys made out of stone, basically. I was pretty impressed by that. Anyway, 10 kilo marathon, so a 10-mile race, 10-kilometer race. を走った時, so when I ran the 10-kilometer race in my PE class, 吐きそうになりました. I almost or I nearly threw up. お母さんは自宅販売の高級な水を買いそうになっています. This is taken straight out of a Psyche Kusuo, Psyche K episode. As for mom, she's about to buy door-to-door sales expensive water. Oh no. Except she did buy it in that episode. お母さんは, so as for mom, 自宅販売, so door-to-door sales, の高級, so expensive or extravagant or yeah, really nice. な水, so water, so expensive water を買いそうになっています. She's about to buy super expensive water from a door-to-door salesman. Oh boy. All right, that brings us to the dialogue section. Let's get Yuki over here. I'm B, she's A. So I guess I start. We'll read it slowly one time, then at full speed, and then we'll go through each one together. So, 結婚したくないっすか?
かな。
そうなんだ。
一回結婚しそうになったけど、やめてよかった。
なんでやめたんすか?
彼に、飲みすぎだよ。ちょっと気をつけた方がいいんじゃない?って言われて、すぐさま別れた。
結婚したくないっすか?
かな。
そうなんだ。
一回結婚しそうになったけど、やめてよかった。
なんでやめたんすか?
彼に、飲みすぎだよ。ちょっと気をつけた方がいいんじゃない?っ って言われてすぐさま別れた。
Aye, let's go ahead and break it down. We have
結婚したくないっすか？
you don't want to get married? Breaking it down quickly, it's 結婚, it's just marriage. したくないっすか? Once again, that's the super casual sort of masculine です. And even though it's です, it's still very casual. すか?
かな？
Yeah, I guess.
そうなんだ。
I see.
一回結婚しそうになったけどやめてよかった。
One time I was about to get married, but I'm glad I quit that. So 一回 one time 結婚しそうになった. I was about to. I nearly got married, but けどやめてよかった. I'm glad I quit.
なんでやめたんすか？
Why did you quit? なんで Why? やめたんすか? Once again, that's casual です. Why'd you quit?
彼に飲みすぎだよ。ちょっと気をつけた方がいいんじゃない？って言われてすぐさま別れた。
He said, you drink too much, man. Shouldn't you be a bit more careful? And I immediately broke up with him. 彼に so from him, 飲みすぎだよ. You drink too much. ちょっと a little bit. 気をつけた方がいいんじゃない? Shouldn't you be a little more careful? って言われて he said to me, or I was said to by him, すぐさま so immediately 別れた. I broke up with him.
すぐさまね。
すぐさまね。
はい。
すぐさま別れた。
大変。もう大変。あなたの友達がまるまる知ってしまいそうになっています。何をしてしまいそうになっていますか？
Oh no, your friend is about to do something stupid or something stupid happened to them. So 何々をしてしまいそうになっています。What is it? For example,
キーボードにお茶をこぼしそうになっています。
he's about to spill tea on his keyboard. Oh my god. キーボードに so in the direction of the keyboard お茶を so direct object is tea. こぼす means to spill something. こぼしそうになっています。He's about to spill it.
ね、カップよく見てほしいですね。
はい
はい。アニメのネタバレを話してしまいそうになってい
こ
ます。
れはいけない、これはいけない。とってもダメだ。アニメのネタバレ。ネタバレ for those of you who don't know, means spoilers. Spoilers. ネタバレ。So, アニメのネタバレ。So, anime spoilers を as a direct object 話してしまいそうになっています。He's about to or nearly going to talk about spoilers for an anime. Can't do that. Make sure you hide them in the behind the black tape on Discord if you ever want to talk about anime spoilers. Right, our next section is don't. The command don't in old Japanese. Nakare. So let's go ahead and break this one down. It takes the dictionary form of a verb. You often have koto after that dictionary form and then nakare. And it's just the command, do not do that thing. It's just a command. But it's old Japanese. That's the most important point that I want to mention in this section is that nakare is bunko. It's kobun. It's old Japanese. It's not modern Japanese. Yeah, it's just the super old way to say do not do something, which we would just use na, suru na would be basically what this is, suru na. And that probably comes from nakare. But that's not the point. You would just say na nowadays instead of nakare. The only reason that I think this is in this Quartet lesson is because for Quartet 2 specifically, Quartet took real articles from real magazines and newspapers and websites and stuff, real ones, real stories and things, and they just put them right into the book. They didn't edit it, I don't think, at all. So I think what happened is nakare was like a title or in like an old quote, an old Japanese quote in the article, and they felt like they had to explain it. So they have a whole grammar point dedicated to it. And I'm covering everything in Quartet. I'm not skipping anything. So I decided to just do a little bit. We only have a couple sentences here because you're never going to have to use it almost. And it's very simple. But yeah, it's old Japanese. You're not going to use it. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, 見えていることだけが真実だと思うなかれ. So do not think that the only things that are visible are reality. Or that only things that are visible are reality. Sorry. Do not think that only things that are visible are reality. So 見えていること, so the things you see だけ, so only the things you see が, that's the subject, 真実だ, so reality だ, と思うなかれ, so do not think that the things you see are only a reality. Moving on to the next section, we have 挑戦を恐れることなかれ. 自信の成長につながるはずだ。So do not fear a challenge. I expect that challenges connect to development of yourself. So 挑戦 is a challenge. を 恐れることなかれ。So do not fear a challenge. 自信の成長。So development of yourself. につながるはずだ。I expect that challenge, the挑戦, connect to development of yourself. Last sentence here is 他人に多くを求めることなかれ。So do not request lots from others. 他人に from others 多くを a lot of things 求めることなかれ. Do not request. All right, that brings us to the dialogue. Let's get Yuki over here. We do have a dialogue for なかれ。
はい。
はい。あ、俺が B か。あ、そう。A ちゃんはそんなに飲むんだっけ？
でしょう。
まあまあ、もっといい人がいるかもしれないよ。
いや、その日からいい人だと思っても付き合うことなかれと自分に言い聞かせてる。
そうっすか。わかった。じゃあ、ちょっと妻に電話してくるね。
はーい。
Full speed。あ、そう。A ちゃんはそんなに飲むんだっけ？
でしょう。
まあまあ、もっといい人がいるかもしれないよ。
いや、その日からいい人だと思っても付き合うことなかれと自分に言い聞かせてる。
そうっすか。わかった。じゃあ、ちょっと妻に電話してくるね。
はーい。
Breaking it down.
あ、そう。A ちゃんはそんなに飲むんだっけ？
Oh, really? Wait, do you drink that much? I can't remember. Ah, so, really. A ちゃんは、so as for you, そんなに that much. 飲むんだっけ? So this is だっけ is the, I can't remember. Do you drink that much? Really?
うん。
Can't remember.
でしょう。
Right?
まあまあ、もっといい人がいるかもしれないよ。
Well, there's probably a better person out there, you know. So, まあまあ, well. もっといい人, a better person, がいるかもしれないよ. is existing somewhere probably.
いや、その日からいい人だと思っても付き合うことなかれと自分に言い聞かせてる。
Nah, from that day on, if I think someone is a good person, I warn myself, do not date. So, yeah, no. その日から from that day, いい人だと思っても even if I think they're a good person, 付き合うことなかれ do not date. と、so, yeah, this is what they're saying. 自分に, so at me, 言い聞かせてる. I'm saying it to myself.
そうっすか。わかった。じゃあちょっと妻に電話してくるね。
So this was the original topic that it started with. I gotta call my wife. And that's the whole conversation. This is where it started from. そうっすか. Is that so? わかった. Got it. Well, じゃあ、ちょっと a little 妻に in the direction of my wife 電話してくるね. I'm gonna go and come back and call my wife quickly.
はーい。
Okay. Hi, question time.
あなたは何かの役になってクラスの劇に出ます。〇〇を恐れる、侮る、思う、疑う、ためらう、エトセトラ。ことなかれというセリフで劇を盛り上げましょう。
So please bring some energy to our play that you have a part in by coming up with some lines, serifu, that use something like something wo osoreru nakare, so don't be scared of something, or anadoru nakare, don't disdain or scorn something, omou nakare, don't think something, utagao nakare, koto nakare, so don't doubt something, or tamerao koto nakare, so don't hesitate, something like that. And what is the thing that you're going to be doubting or being scared of? というセリフで劇を盛り上げましょう. For example,
ドラゴンを恐れることなかれ。協力して倒そう。
So, do not fear the dragon. Let's work together and knock it down. Beat it, basically. So, ドラゴンを so the dragon is the direct object of 恐れることなかれ. So, do not fear it. 協力して so we'll work together and 倒そう. Let's take it down.
そのおばあさんをすぐに信じることなかれ。それは毒リンゴかもしれないよ。
そうかも。そのおばあさん so that old woman を direct object すぐに so right away 信じることなかれ do not believe her right away それは as for that 毒リンゴかもしれないよ it might be a poisoned apple so How about you? You're gonna come up with some fun lines for a play. Thumbs up を攻撃してください。Please smash the thumbs up button and チャンネル登録お願いします。Please subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we go live next time. That's it. That's all. みんなありがとうございました。また次のビデオで会いましょうね。
ね、また来週だよ。
はい。お疲れ様でした。バイバイ。
お疲れ。またね。
Planning to use these books to learn Japanese in 2022? We explain all the grammar from these books and more here on YouTube in detail. And on TokiniAndy.com, we have tons of extra grammar explanations, interactive practice exercises with Yuki and I, native shadowing exercises so you can get practice speaking even when you're by yourself, tests, and even progress bars to track your progress through the book. We also plan on beginning to add tons of level-appropriate immersion material throughout 2022. We even have a new exclusive community for members where they can ask questions, help each other, and even play silly Japanese word games. Over 1,800 people have already utilized the TokiniAndy and Yuki premium content. Join the community today and kickstart your Japanese learning journey.